Coach Dean Davidson is the offensive line coach, and I'm probably going to mispronounce this. Oh, how do you pronounce your school?
Obion.
Obion.
Obion County.
Obion County Central High School. Coach knows a lot about wide zone, inside. He is the zone guy on YouTube right now, and Coach does a good job there. And obviously, they've put in some of that at Obion, and he's going to talk two-back zone run game. I'm going to let Coach kind of go from there. Thanks, Coach.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Like they were talking about 2 or 3 minutes ago, Coach Bandstra basically gave you the elevator pitch on who I am, so I'll go ahead and get started. So we're talking about zone and why we should run it with two backs, and we'll get into some different tags and things that can go to it. But the biggest thing for me why we want to run zone out of two backs is just to get more out of a zone blocking scheme. So one of the biggest reasons that I've heard in the past people say maybe you shouldn't run zone is because they think it takes too long to practice all the combos and get the footwork right and the hand placement, it takes too long. So if we have the ability to get more out of that scheme, then being able to spend that time perfecting those things isn't as big of a deal whenever we're thinking about our practice time ratio. And this works for outside and inside zone. So the tags that we're going to go through, we've got a couple of them. I'll say weasel. Weasel is an insert to it's isolation on the play side linebacker zone ISO. So whether it's outside zone weasel or inside zone weasel, we're keeping the same tag. It's just the same linebacker. The offensive line's doing some different things. Our aiming points might be a little bit different, but our terminology there can stay the same. Our zone ideas, our combos stay the same. Outside, that's different than inside, but we're going to be able to get more out of it either way. We can also avoid one back zone and two back gap scheme tendencies. So this is something that I see a ton on film. Obviously, whenever I'm scouting the defense, I get to see what the opposing offenses are doing. And one of the biggest things I see is that if it's only one back, then we're going to be either going to be running zone or maybe GT counter. But as soon as they get that second back in there, we're either running power or counter. There's no zone element to it. Maybe a split zone here or there, but more often than not, 80, 90% of the time, the defense can know that it's going to get power or counter. And then if you want to get really specific, if the backs are on different sides, probably going to be power. If the backs are on the same side, probably going to be counter. So we can really avoid those tendencies if we're able to run zone with two backs. We also get to block the box for RPOs. So defenses have gotten a lot smarter the last 3, 4, 5 years. And we killed them to death with zone lock, with the slant backside, reading the backside linebacker. So what they've done a lot now, smart defenses, well-coached defenses, will take that guy out of the run fit. They're going to take him out of conflict. So now whenever we try and read him, he's going to be fitting the run because that's his only job. Then we're still going to throw the ball either to somebody who is not in the run fit, and then they're going to be able to break up the pass. And then now we don't know, or now the offense is behind the sticks because what we made what we thought was the right read. The defense is playing it correctly. So what I like to do is we want to get everybody in the box blocked. So this works especially well against two high defenses. We want to get everybody in the box blocked. Then we want to see from the two high structure, how are they going to bring that extra guy into the run fit? That's the player we want to RPO. You'll see a lot on the diagrams I've got in here, glances, because a lot of times that's going to be the play side safety, and a glance is a great way to attack him with the RPO game. Then we're just going to be able to regulate the defense in general. So defenses now on day one install, we know they're not lining up against the I formation anymore. They're lining up against 2x2, 4 wide. We're running up against 3x1 trips out of the spread. So having that second back in the backfield can help us know what we're going to get from the defense. So we can help regulate them that way. That's what regulating means to me, is I know whenever I line up in this formation, this is what I'm going to get. And lining up with two backs helps because when defenses don't know what to do, they just play base, right? So they don't see two backs very often. Instead of spending a ton of time thinking of the different ways that we're going to do things that week, the defense, they're just going to play their base. Then we've got to spend the week figuring out, what am I going to do? How am I going to adapt my base rules to fit this offense? So how we run two-back zone, for me, it starts with the mic identification. Everything is based off of that. I actually just recently did a YouTube video on Mike ID. If you want to get a little bit more in depth with it, be sure to go check that out. But the elevator pitch for that is we're going to ID the second linebacker in the box from the play side. Everybody on the play side that's off the ball, it would be a +1 would be the play side linebacker. +2 would be probably the strong safety. Then backside, we're going to give them minuses. So everybody who's off the ball is either a +1, +2. The farther out you get, the higher your number is going to be. And again, this is going to keep us having the same tags for outside and inside zone because it's all based on who has, especially the fullback or the tight end with the Y off, who's got the +1, who's got the +2, who's got the -1, things like that. And we're going to talk through that here in the next few minutes. Backside tackle and tight end rules, as far as zone goes for me, if you are covered, we're just going to zone it. And then when you're uncovered, we're looking for the -1. If the -1's in the box, then you're going to climb to him. And if the -1 is out of the box, you're going to man, you're going to lock backside. And then the first uncovered man starts to turn like we know with the half slide protection. So let's say we've got a backside tight end with a B gap bubble. So the -1's out of the box, then they would both be man backside, blocking out the 5 and the 9. So we'll go through these zone run tags. They come from my adaptation of the Shanahan-McVay system. Like Coach Bandstra said, I do a lot with the zone run game, and I tried to take all my terminology from them. Sean McVay is kind of my guy to look to. So starting with SIFT, this is split zone. So that's what they call split zone. You'll see FY at the top. We're going to tag whoever it is that's going to be sifting. So this right here would be F-sift. A really popular thing is to have the Y off 11 personnel these days. So that might be Y-sift for you. But either way, we're talking about split zone. Rules for split zone here are that the blocking surface is going to be responsible for the mic and the +1. And then the backside tackle here in this example is covered. So we've got the tight front right here. The tight end on the left side, he's got his Sam at the 9 technique. This is outside zones. We're going to have the left guard and left tackle taking the 4-eye to the +1, the center and the backside guard taking the nose to the jack. And the jack would be the one we've ID'd as the mic because he's the second linebacker in the box off the ball from play side. And then the backside tackle, like I said, he's covered. So he's going to scoop out that 4-eye. And we'll go through these. I'll tell you my favorite looks for each of these two. And the premier look for me for SIFT for split zone is we want that hard edge backside so that we have a clear defender that we want to be sifting to. Another way that we could do this would be what I'd call gate from that system, and that is wham. So it'd be zone wham. And what we would do there is the backside tackle would stay home and block the will, and then we would end up sifting the end for a wham there. So if you want to give it a different look, I really like that against the tight front. Weasel, I've kind of already mentioned here, but Weasel is zone insert. So the fullback is going to have the +1, could be the tight end too. Again, if you're that 11 personnel Y-off team, I traditionally prefer 21 personnel if I've got the guys to do it. So we've got 28 F Weasel X glance here. The blocking surface is only responsible for the mic right here because the fullback here is going to be taking care of the +1. So we've got the backside tight end and tackle. They're uncovered. The -1 is out of the box, so they're going to man backside. So how this would work here, we'd have a fan block on the front side, so the tackle and the guard are both blocking out. The center and the backside guard have the 1 back to the mic. Remember, they don't have to worry about the jack. We've got him as the +1, so the fullback is going to take care of him with the B-gap bubble backside. The tackle and the tight end backside are going to be man blocking. So kind of going back to being able to block the box here, they've got 7, we've got 7. We can handle our 7 up front. And then for, again, most defenses, who's going to be that next guy to join the run fit? It's going to be that play side safety. So we can pick on him a lot more now because we have this 2-back run game, this 2-back zone game. We've got everybody blocked. We can figure out who that extra defender is going to be, and we can throw the glance off of him with our wide receiver. So the premier look for me for Weasel is going to be having 2 front side solo blocks. We really want to be able to get that insert inside the line of scrimmage, in between the blocking surface. So especially with outside zone, the goal of the play is to stretch the front side and cut off the backside, right? So we want to get the front moving horizontally, but we want to cut off the flow from the backside. And then with Weasel, we get that F leading or the Y leading through that alley. So I really like this play whenever we get those front side solo blocks. Generally, I'm going to prefer this to the weak side just to make sure that that the +2 doesn't come into the equation in the box. Man is very similar to Weasel, except now we're going to cross insert, and the tagged part of the blocking surface is going to have the mic. So instead of isolating the +1 like you would in Weasel, we're going to isolate the mic in Man. So instead of being responsible for the mic, blocking surface is going to be responsible for the +1 here. And breaking down how this works, again, we've got the fan on the front side, just got a regular 4-3 over front here. The center and the backside guard, they're going to take the backside 1 to the +1 because it is man, and this would be inside zone. I generally prefer man for inside zone, and the next one we'll talk about, just because with inside zone being a counter to outside zone, we want to run inside zone when the defense is overflowing. So we give that same zone action here with inside zone. We expect the defense to overflow. We can cut right back, and then that's where the fullback is going to be leading, is on that cut back to the Mike linebacker. So we've got, again, that fan block on the front side. That's going to open things up for us on the backside, with the backside tackle being able to block back on the end because the -1 is the free safety. He's out of the box. Got a different RPO here. This would be just a play side smoke screen. So who our first defender out of the box? Generally, the +2 is the one we're going to want to RPO. He's going to be the first unblocked defender if the run continues to that side. So he's the one we can RPO on the smoke screen. So premier look here is we just want one open backside gap to make sure we have room for the cutback. So generally, I kind of like this one against 4 down fronts a little bit more. The tight front can be an issue because the nose and the tight front is generally going to be playing the backside A gap. Then you've got the backside 4I. So we don't really have an open gap on the backside in between the C gaps. So one way that you can do that, and we did that this past season with some pretty good success, is read the 4I. So we would run this play and we would arc the backside tackle so we could read the 4I, and it would work out pretty well for us. Choke is the next one. So we've gone from split zone to isolating the play side linebacker to isolating the backside linebacker, and choke is a backside insert. I drew it up same side here, but it doesn't have to be. We're going to isolate, I mistyped that. We're going to isolate the -1 here. So you can see in the drawing, it is inside zone to the right. Since we've got everybody blocked up in the front, we can run it same side, and we've got the fullback leading on the -1 linebacker. So the blocking surface here is going to be responsible for the mic and the +1 because we're going to isolate the -1 there. Backside tackle is covered here, so he's going to continue as part of the blocking scheme. So right tackle's got the 5 being inside zone. The right guard here is going to be working with the nose up to the +1 as opposed to working with the tackle if we were running outside zone. Again, the backside tackle's covered. He's going to work with the backside guard up to the mic. Then the fullback is going to have the -1. So this one is a little bit trickier because we talked about those backside tackle tight end rules a little bit ago. Since the -1 is in the box, we'd have to make sure we practice this one because choke would tell them that they aren't worried about the -1 because we are going to specifically put the fullback or the tight end, or you maybe even bring like the Z in for choke. But the backside tight end, like we said, he's uncovered, but he's not responsible for that -1, so he's going to man that defensive end backside. Premier look for this one is 3 linebacker fronts, just because the only way to really have the -1 in the box is to have a 3 linebacker front. You can do it with the backside safety. That's something that I saw the Rams do a lot this past year. They would run choke with a wide zone the other way, and they would take like Cooper Kupp and insert him all the way on the backside safety. They would do that a lot against the Cardinals when they were running their 3 high stuff. I thought that was a pretty interesting way to do it. Zorro Cat is probably currently my favorite run. This one is outside zone only because it's an outside zone, or it's an outside attacking play. So what Zorro Cat is the fullback and tight end are going to combo to the +2. And this can happen and frequently happens from the backfield. So the fullback's coming from the backfield. He's going to combo with the tight end, and they're working to the +2 if it's regular Zorro. Cap is a tag to tell that combo to push to the corner, and then the Z is going to, he's going to push crack the play side safety or the +2. So what I really like about this play is it gives the tackle the freedom to know that he does not have to handle a pinch from the Sam. So if they're trying to pinch it and spill everything, Zorro Cat's a great play because the fullback's going to end up hooking him, and we're going to guarantee get the edge. But the tackle can play really thick on the defensive end, or especially if there's a 3 and they're playing a 4-2 or a 4-3, he can be really thick on that to really make sure that we get the front sealed in and nobody gets past the tackle. And the fullback and the tight end are going to be taking the Sam out to the corner here since it's Zorro Cat. Then the Z is going to get that +2 taken care of. We get everybody on the front side blocked here. I love this play. So ultimately, the blocking surface is responsible for the Mike and the +1 because the +2 is being taken care of by the combos and by the cat call. Backside tackle is covered here, so we would turn the wheel loose backside. You could read it and arc the backside tackle and read the arc the backside tackle and read the 4 on top of him. But I'm not a huge fan of zone reads against too high. Got more on that on my channel if you want to dive into that. But the premier look for me for Zorro Cat is we want to have that open C gap on the play side because if we have a defender in the C gap there, then it can make this combo for the fullback and the tight end a little bit muddy. The tackle still has to try and take care of that 5. It's a lot better if that C gap's clear so the tackle can play thick on the B gap and really make sure that the front gets sealed in. So we've talked so far about too high, about things to attack too high. We'll get into some zone reads here. The zone read is what I prefer against 1 high, and Grizz is a good way to do that. So Grizz is zone loaded option, and this is something that they did, they being the Shanahan tree, they did with RG3 his rookie year. They ran a lot of this stuff. So Grizz is zone load option. It's going to mimic Sift. It's going to mimic that split zone, but instead of actually blocking the defensive end, we're going to bluff it and then lead on the most dangerous man backside of him. So blocking surface here is responsible for the Mike and the +1. Play side tackle here has the 5. We're going to combo the nose to the +1 here, combo the 3 up to the Mike, and then with that Grizz block, he's going to fake that Sift around the defensive end. We're going to read him. The quarterback has an extra blocker there if he gets a pull read. So the premier look for me here, we're going to have 1 high defenses with a single receiver backside. So the single receiver backside helps because it's going to make sure that that -1 is close to the box. If we've got 2 receivers backside, generally that's when I would like to run a run screen option instead of having the fullback or the tight end on the Grizz block here. So with having that single receiver, that -1 is going to be he's going to be the quarterback player or the person that the defense wants to be the quarterback player. Then we get them blocked up and we've got everybody blocked if it's a pull read. So all these things are great. They can be problematic if the defense starts to key in on your fullback or on your tight end. So it's really important to have different counters to play off of that whenever they do try and key on those. That's one of the bigger issues with zone blocking is you don't have to key the guards because you just see what direction they are. You can key a fullback potentially. So one of my things with countering for when the defense is keying on your fullback or tight end, first would be split zone. So if you don't want to have to run anything else, then we can run split zone because split zone is going to get them flowing opposite the direction of the play. So that would be our Sift call there or Grizz. Another option here would be GT counter. And I really like this play. I've got it same side. I like same side gap schemes. We can run them the other way. I just think that they hit a little bit better, hit downhill a little bit better when we do them same side. But this would be counter F-Sift. So counter, for my adaptation of it, is going to be GT counter. So here we've got the tight end blocking out. Something that I've had trouble with where I've been is getting the tight end and the tackle to actually combo this 5 back to the Mike. So what we really switched to was just having the tight end block out on the 9 here, and then it keeps it the same for everybody. Basically, the tight end doesn't have to worry about knowing how to handle that combo, that deuce block. And then it keeps it the same for our guards and tackles that are pulling, because it's the same kind of look they're going to see if the tight end's not there. So here the tight end would make a stack call. He'd be blocking out. The right tackle would be going back to the mic. So with our gap schemes, we block down to the mic, wrap to the +1. Guard is going to block back on the 1. Center is going to block all the way back on the 3 with our guard and tackle pulling. And then the F is going to take care of this defensive end or outside linebacker on the backside. So we can still get everybody on the front blocked. We don't have to worry about making a read here against too high. As far as a run, give or keep read, we can still make our glance happen off the strong safety, see if he's going to fit on the play side. But what this will do to a defense is, hopefully, if they're keying the fullback here, they're going to see the fullback going to the left, right? So they're going to see the fullback going to the left. They're going to see the halfback going to the left at the snap too, because he's got that same side run. So hopefully they're going to overflow to the left. We're going to get extra pullers coming around to the right. And by the time they realize that they were wrong, we're running up the hash for an explosive run. Another way to counter whatever they are reading off of the fullback or your tight end would be some play action drift is a great one. It's basically a play action glance.
Give up 5
I've got a whole
minutes,
video
Coach.
on that on my channel as well. I appreciate it. Dagger is a good one for going. If you're going to use your fullback, we can insert him, leak him out of the flat, and then hopefully hit the dagger right behind it. And Yankee is another one of my favorites. So real quick, with some contact information for me, my YouTube channel, you can look up at Coach_D Davidson. Same on Twitter. Hit me up in the DMs. I'll love to talk ball. Email, if you need to want to email me for anything, CoachDeanDavidson@gmail.com. In addition to my YouTube channel, I do also write a weekly article, call it Wide Zone Warriors, and you can find that at widezonewarriors.substack.com. If you want to go there and if you subscribe to it, I've got a PDF of all the different variations that I covered of the 2-back zone. You can take this and download it. I've got a ton of other free stuff in a Google Drive folder that I'll send to you. I'll put this presentation in there. I've got 5 different playbooks from the Shanahan-McVay tree, sharing all that stuff. And I've got a play call sheet template too that I've put together based on seeing some of theirs that I can find online. And I'll share all that with you if you'll go sign up for Wide Zone Warriors for free. So that's going to do it for my presentation. I think we had a couple minutes for some Q&A, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, if anything pops up in the chat as we continue, then I will relay that on as we're talking here. But you kind of hit on a variety of different looks out of the 2-back to kind of focus on and kind of hit on. If for somebody switching to zone, because let's be honest, zone is, especially wide zone, is the hot topic right now. Between your channel, obviously Nick Caduti has advertised wide zone like it's God's gift to humankind over the past several years, along with his hair. But
yeah, those two things.
But stuff trickles down. The NFL and college, you see it a lot. If you are somebody switching to a zone concept, where would you tell them to start in terms of, obviously there's either inside or outside zone, but when you start looking at all these tags and RPOs, where do you recommend that coaches okay, here's the base stuff year one to start with?
So 1-back would probably be a good place to start, especially if you can run GT counter, especially if you can run GT counter bash off of it. So I think about tight end trips. I like to run outside zone strong to that and then run bash GT counter back to the weak side. I think that's a really good pairing for really keeping the defense off balance. But 1-back zone is a good place to start. And then if you just look back through here, going through the premier looks, think about what defenses you're going to face, or if you're not going to face any 4-down teams, then maybe you don't want to put in something like man unless you're going to be able to read that backside in. So think about the defenses that you're facing. How are they going to line up, and which ones do you think you would run the most of? So like you said, this is a lot. We definitely wouldn't carry all of it into a game. Probably would just pick 2 or 3 different tags to activate it that week based on the defense that you're seeing. But like you said, that's, if I'm going somewhere new to install this stuff, probably not throwing all this at them right away. I'm just picking those 2 or 3 things that we're going to see 80% of the time. I'm big on the 20-80 principle, right? What's the 20% of the work we can do that's going to affect 80% of the outcome? So what are the 2 or 3 different tags we can use that are going to get us where we need to be for 8 or 9 games, the games that we need to win, and then maybe a game or 2 that we can steal. Those would be the ones that I focus on first.
Okay. Well, coaches, give my man a follow on the Twitter, X, whatever we calling it nowadays. Check out his YouTube channel because, like I said, I've gone through some of it. There is you want to talk about detailed stuff in the zone. I've watched a couple of his zone videos, including some of his IDing the mic, and there's some really good stuff in there. And he's got some good film and he's got good quality presentations on there to kind of look at. So make sure you check that out. And then check out Substack stuff as well. Coach, I'll be in touch, but thank you. I appreciate you coming on as we get prepped for our next speaker.
All right. Thanks for having me. Really enjoyed it.
No problem, Coach. Thank you.